I have one thing going, that's I'm 1,000 mistakes ahead of you. If I can convey some of the things I learned from all of my mistakes, maybe we can fast track you over a couple of those potholes.
Santi production. Welcome to Finding America. I'm on a 13,000-mile road trip to meet Finnish Americans and figure out why they want to be here and learn about cultural differences. You'll meet exciting Finns and hear about their journeys in America. We left Nashville after saying goodbye to Jukka and once again repacking our entire car. Since I finally had my co-pilot with me, I wanted to make sure I don't overwork him, and we took a day off from interviews to visit New Orleans. I did have some interviews in mind, but as many things in this production, they just didn't happen. After enjoying a bunch of food at different spots, getting my hot sauces, and staying a night in a hostel, we made our way to Austin via Houston, eating in a Denny's, and now we're meeting Michel Wendell. He's a partner in Nexit Ventures. They're a VC firm that has offices in Austin, Silicon Valley, and Helsinki. However, Michel and his wife have found themselves in Austin. And Michel has been instrumental in connecting me with Finns all across America for this show. After enjoying a delicious dinner together, we headed out to experience some of the live music that Austin is famous for. The next day, we had time for a morning meditation on the rooftop. Join us for this episode and hopefully you'll learn something new and exciting. Oh, before we get on with the show, it would mean the world to me and it would help me creating content like this in the future if you could subscribe, smash the like button, and maybe share this with a friend. See you next time. For someone who's never heard of you, how would you introduce yourself?
I would say that my name is Michel Wendell. If the listener is a Finnish person, I would either have to tell them that I actually have Finnish roots because I can hide behind a name. If it's to my advantage not to say it, I won't.
Would you tell me a story about how you actually came to America?
I came to America through a small corporate transaction. I had started a company in Paris where we lived with my wife and kid for 8 years roughly. That startup company was acquired by a company in Silicon Valley. It was a situation where really the whole deal was about me moving there and taking a specific position in that company. We had lived in the States previously and in some other places and just felt that, hey, California wasn't a bad thing to go and explore, and we said that let's take it for a couple of years. Almost 30 years later, here we still are.
In terms of America, do you have any pet peeves? So as an example, some of the pet peeves I have in America is people not switching lanes without a blinker, or you go to a grocery store and it's not what you think it is, it's this amount plus tax.
You have a tendency to meet more people here that lose patience in listening, sort of start to answer the question or pose their question before it is really the place to do so. I mean, that would definitely be one. You know, to a large extent, it's a situation that the Americans are in because of circumstance, but also somewhat laziness. It's just their level of knowledge of Europe, cultures, languages, and so forth. And, you know, you can get irritated about it, or you can take it as an opportunity to, in a nice way, trying to educate them a little bit. Specifically now living in Texas, which is less exposed to those types of cultures and things, we come across it several times.
What would you say is the main reasons for you staying in America?
Initially, it was clearly the fact that we, being an investor and being in the tech scene, being in Silicon Valley is like, it doesn't get much better than that. That's where the whole thing, in a way, if it wasn't founded only there, it was there where it was developed, and it continued to develop, and it was a magnet for just great people and all of that. So it was a very exhilarating place to be. So that's one side of it. Then more domestic issues is that raising kids, I think, somewhat falsely have the perception that you shouldn't be dragging them around and changing their environments very often. So we didn't do that. I don't think that it would have had much negative impact had we done it. But anyway, I mean that's probably one reason that we stayed. And then you get certainly again California is not a bad place to be. I mean you get used to having sort of everything available to you in the world in terms of sort of food and culture and stuff like that. I mean, there is so many things that you can do and explore and experience there that it's, you have to have we would have had to have a pretty good reason to leave.
How often do you go back to Finland?
It depends very much, but at a minimum it has been like twice a year. I mean, during the pandemic, we have still escaped back to Finland over the summer to just enjoy, sort of pick the cherries. During the peak of our sort of professional activities, I've had years where I've been in Finland for more than once a month, which explains, 5 million air miles and a very flat butt profile.
So what do you do in your free time?
Oh man, we do a lot of things. I mean, one of the reasons for moving to Austin originally was really just to go and explore a new place. It's a place that has a fantastic offering of culture, food, nature, interesting people and things to see. So we explore a lot. We go drive around, bike around, walk around, explore the food scene. Probably specifically for myself, the biggest exploration I have is in music. As where we live, we have close to a dozen of live music studios, not studios, but clubs that have program at least 6 or 5-6 evenings a week. Just going and hanging in these places and listening to different musicians and genres and just get to sort of understand the culture deeper here of what it is, and it's a fantastic way of doing it through food and music. I guess I was an Austinite before I came here.
I like the way you talk about just even work-life balance and having that, because what you do can be very draining, so it's great to see that you do find enough balance to keep that. How do you define success?
Success for me is really simple things like health, happiness, achievement of certain goals that you have set for yourself. In my case, success in something private has to do with very specific goals that you set for yourself, whether it is to, make a new low time on a 15K bike ride, as easy as it might be, or simple. Professionally, it is, of course, to make good investments, and good investments become good only once you are through the whole cycle and you have started it and you have ended it and you can look at the results. And to me personally there, making financial sort of good results for our investors as well as for ourselves is important, but equally so to make sure that you have contributed sort of positively to something, that you have made other people successful, you have made them grow, you have helped them on the path. If you still have done it by significantly somehow improving life quality for a broader set of people, nature, the ESG side of it, all good. And it's a balance of these things. And it has really changed over, my 20-year career as a professional investor, in that early on it clearly was more about making money, and the more you start to understand it and the more you realize that making money doesn't happen without other people succeeding also, helping them, and that you are all in the same boat when you're invested in a company.
Do you consider yourself lucky?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Do you think there's a path to be more lucky? Is it just random, or are there things you can actually do to increase your luck in life.
Yes, you expose yourself to situations where luck sort of has an impact. Yes, it's unlucky if this block of concrete falls on my head, but that's sort of fairly unlikely. But just doing stuff and being proactive and active and so forth sort of puts you in a situation where you basically become prone for probably having more luck than other people.
What are your thoughts on how the culture with success is in Finland compared to the US? Because we do have a lot of sayings on how, you know, if you're trying to succeed a lot in Finland, we try to pull you back down, and the culture is very, or used to be at least, where you should be in the middle, not in the bottom and not in the top. Comparatively in America, it's always go for the moon, go as high as you can, and if you fall, it's okay, get yourself up and keep going. What are your thoughts on these differences in cultural success?
If you look at it from an individual point of view, sort of the person who is actually trying to create that success for themselves or for their company, their environment, I think the development or the change has been humongous in that, again, during my 20 years, it certainly was a completely different species of people that we saw in Finland in terms of the entrepreneurs than the ones that we have today.
Finns are not known for being great marketers. I do think that we do have great marketers in Finland. Marketing Finland abroad has never been a specialty we have. What are some core things that you've learned that might help Finns market themselves around the world?
One of the basic sort of flaws or shortcomings, at least traditionally, have been that Finns, when it comes to marketing their products or services or something like that, too much start from the fact that they recognized an issue, an opportunity, a problem. They come up with the solution for it, they build it, and they sort of think that their problem pretty much covers the whole problem space in whatever sector it is. And they come up with a really good solution, so people should buy it. It has to, of course, turn, and it has turned more and more to, like, you know, figure out what other people's similar problems are in the domain that you understand and you know, and build solutions for their needs, for their habits, for their problems, and do it in a way that is intuitive to yourself, because we are very, in general, very logical thinkers. We come to end results reasonably fast and with too many turns and twists. Implement it in such a way that is driven by yourself, but don't think that you understand the problem or that you really know the exact solution, but more the process of how to get from A to B. My 20 years in dealing with these companies, humongous development, positive development, good individuals getting good education and good experience in areas, and they can be on top of the world in marketing and sales and anything, communications, anything related, because there is no reason why not.
Do you think it's essential, if you want to succeed outside of your home country, that you have to do an exchange program, or you need to travel a lot as a kid, or do small trips before you move abroad? Because it seems, as a pattern, the more you've traveled, and it's probably obvious, it's a lot easier to move than somewhere else. Your thoughts on traveling as you're a kid, or doing exchange student things to really increase your luck of succeeding abroad?
Essential. You don't have to limit it to traveling abroad to understand foreigners. Anything, I mean, there is two ways of doing things. One is the theoretical way and the other one is the practical way. The best result is always a combination of the two. If you don't get to practice things abroad and actually put yourself into uncomfortable situations, to be somehow in a situation where you have to sort of, you're at the boundary of your comfort zone, then you don't learn that much, and that's how you create your your skill set, your sensitivities and stuff like that. So I think that it's absolutely essential that you do that. And Finland has been quite good at both sort of exchange student programs and so forth over the years. I think that Nokia as a company was very good at shipping people around the world to sort of be part of their businesses and to bring them back home to sort of really work on that internationalization of the company, and you know, that part they did really well, I think.
What are some core things you think that America could do better?
Oh wow, that's another 2 hours right there.
Just core things briefly.
Let's limit it down to something, you know, because politically there's obviously lots of things that can be done and should be done and could be done. Business-wise, you know, this country, of course, is really viewed as the engine in business in many ways, and it's somewhat protective in some areas as a you know, really the picture of democracy and sort of free trade. It probably shouldn't do that. It's very understandable why it does it, because you have to play the rules of the game that is not only picked by you but also by your opponents.
What do you think people should understand about adapting to American life when they come from Finland?
One thing that comes reasonably natural to some Finns, but actually many of the Finns that venture abroad are the ones that are more outgoing. The ones who are more outgoing really need to take advantage of that, but they also need to sort of train their skills or make sure that they use their skills of the opposite side, which is listening. Because listening is the most important thing when you're doing business, and certainly when you're doing it internationally or sort of on somebody else's ground. You have to learn what is important to those people, what, you know, how they operate, fit in, see where your advantages are and use them. So that's definitely one thing is listen. And here sort of naturally segues into another thing in this country, which is a lesson or something that I got from another Nordic venture capitalist, which is unfortunately long gone, but he told me 25 years ago that in this country, never confuse motion with movement. And motion is this: it looks like lots of shit is happening, but it's only two hands waving. We haven't moved anywhere. And movement is when you actually make progress with stuff. I think that is something which Finns and Europeans very easily can get confused with, that we see action, but we don't critically sort of measure it. That is this actually helping the cause of bringing forward whatever is on the table, or is it just hand waving? It's not always so easy to see the difference either, but that's certainly a skill that one should, or something that one has to keep in mind.
Then a topic I really want to touch on here is coaching and mentoring. You've already mentored me throughout this project as well, and I know you do it a lot. So what are your thoughts on coaching and mentorship for success?
It's not sort of, shouldn't be seen as an absolute necessity. People have been successful probably without too much mentoring or coaching. But I think that sort of helps you do things maybe faster, more efficiently, better. To me, I think I'm involved in a lot of it, so I think that it is important, otherwise I wouldn't spend my time. Just having a person, and I've had a few myself over the years that are, you know, the elderly statesmen that you can confine in. You can tell them, geez, you know, I've seen this, I've seen that, I can't really make heads and tails of it. And have somebody that really doesn't give you, and you shouldn't expect the right answer from them, but you should expect to get the processes and so forth. And I think that in many cases I use a sort of a line myself, which is that don't expect any answers from me, but if I can't give you really good questions, then it's a waste of your time. So good questions should lead you to thinking in a broader way, or focus your thinking or sort of your processing of something. That's really what mentorship is. And sometimes, the real value for the mentoree is not that they really get the answer out, but the fact that they can feel that they're not alone. There is support, there is empathy, there is, somebody cares. That's something that we never have enough of anyway. So that's something to roll into mentorship.
Entrepreneurs have a lot of very heavy times, and it gets dark and the going gets tough. So what are some of the core tips you would have for the next generation on what they could either avoid, or tips on just how to deal with all the bullshit that flies your way?
Deal with it. Don't give up. It's like enemy fire. The more enemy fire you're getting your way, the better you know that you're on the right track of getting to something that is really important for them. And then it's just tackling and blocking, reading those signals and analyzing them and learning from them to take the next steps and to turn the next stone. And there is no magical answer, but that comes down to perseverance and character, how you just deal with those situations. And that's what to a large extent is how you see people that are really successful. You know that they haven't given up. They haven't said, oh shit, this is too hard, I'm not going to deal with it.
So what are some concrete things that I can do as an entrepreneur to be in your position sometime in the future?
Do what you feel is right to do, driven by your passion, driven by market opportunity, driven by your value system and your skill set. Do what you think is the right thing for you to do, and be open to pivoting a little bit here and there to get to a goal. Nothing comes for free, luckily, but then also almost nothing is sort of impossible. Surround yourself by the right people. Make sure that value systems and everything are aligned. Have clarity and honesty in what you do, and you can get to great places. Talk to people who have been there and done that. One of the things that I tend to say to lots of young people who might, with good reason, question, why do we need an old dude like you involved in this? And not very much, but I have one thing going. That's I'm 1,000 mistakes ahead of you. If I can convey some of the things I learned from all of my mistakes, maybe we can fast track you over a couple of those potholes.
All right, Michel, let's do our last part. It's going to be a word association play. I'll give you 10 words, and you tell me in a sentence or a word, whatever comes to your mind and whatever you want to say. First word, blue.
Red.
White.
Black.
Sauna.
Comfort.
Sisu.
Us.
Black.
White.
Green.
Green.
Coca-Cola.
Sweet.
The Matrix.
Interesting.
Finland.
Beautiful.
Love.
Us.
And what do you have to say to the next generation of entrepreneurs?
Go get 'em.